well, let's say 40 basis points. So if I'm going to do $100 million insurance, I'm going to pay about $400,000 a year as premium. Uh, Where is that chart? That rate was close to 70 about a year ago. And about 8 years ago, it was about almost 900 basis points. And we're not even talking about 2010, 2011 numbers. Okay? So these things do change. So anybody who insured Greek debt back in 2017 made a lot of money. Why? The Greek debt quality, at least as perceived by the markets, has improved. And right now it's almost nothing. Let's look at US. You're thinking, in fact, it's similar to Greece. Why there is kind of concern that US government has too much debt, which is true. And about 6 months ago, it was a lot higher. Now it's a little bit less. Let's do, can we do, I guess that's all I can see. But if you looked at it sometime in 2017, it was probably about 10 basis points. For example, let's look at credit default swap for Norway. Nothing. It's basically 13 basis points. Why do you think Norway is a better or cheaper to insure compared to US? What would be your prior? I mean, I happen to know a lot about Norwegian economy. They have less debt. In fact, Norway has, if you know anything about Norway, the last 30, 40 years, they extracted a lot of oil and natural gas from North Sea fields, and they put most of that money into a sovereign fund. The value of that sovereign fund is $2 trillion. Norway has a over $2 trillion. Norway has a population of 6 million. So basically, for each of their citizens, the size of that sovereign fund is about close to 400 grand. In fact, any income that they generate out of that fund, they redistribute to their citizens. Unlike sovereign funds of places like Saudi Arabia or Qatar, I mean, those guys also do have big sovereign funds, but most of the income goes to support the royal family. I mean, they do some redistribution. And we used to have a lot more of these students. Let's say you're a citizen of Saudi Arabia and you get accepted into a US college. Saudi Arabian government not only pays all of your tuition, all your books, plus a monthly stipend to cover your living expenses. You even get 4 round-trip tickets a year paid. And if you're actually an employee of the Saudi government at the time you went to college or maybe a master's degree, they even pay you what your salary would have been over there. Same thing with United Arab Emirates and stuff like that. So this business of limiting visas to foreign students is going to hurt a lot of U.S. colleges big time. In our case, it wasn't a big portion anyway, but places like University of Kentucky, Louisville, they're going to pay big time on that. And if you look at the chart of Norway, it should be, it went up from about 10 to 13. That's pretty much bid offer spread these days. So credit quality doesn't change too much. But on the other hand, let's look at a country like Argentina. They're in deep trouble. That's over 10%. So if I want to insure $100 million worth of Argentinian debt, denominated in US dollars, of course, every year I need to pay at least $10 million for that insurance. Why? I mean, they have a lot of issues, political and otherwise. And let's see how that change. And look at it until about 10 years ago, that was only 400 basis points. Now it's 1,000 basis points. So if you bought floating rate bonds of Argentina, you're still affected because spread has effectively changed. If you're interested in something like Turkey, it's only 260. Only because it used to be much higher. And as high as 900 basis points during COVID days. It's much less right now. And just to see what it would correspond, Fred, and that's roughly the same as single B. Even though international credit rating for Turkey is close to investment grade, the effective spread is close to what you want to call single B. And let me see what else I'm going to talk about today. Now, it is not a big percentage of the bond market, but a lot of firms sometimes issue what we call equity-related bonds. There are two main kinds. One are convertible bonds. I issue a bond. In a lot of cases, these bonds are issued by somewhat low credit quality firms, but they're kind of startups. They have a potential very high upside, and in many cases, they're issued with zero coupons. But if I issue $100 million worth of these, I also give you the option to convert, to exchange these bonds with a certain number of shares. So let's say the firm's stock price is $10 right now, and I issued $100 million worth of these bonds, and I told you anytime you want, you can give me these bonds back, and I will give you 80 shares. At the current price, 80 shares would be worth only $80 million or 8 million shares. But if the stock price went up from $10 to 100, suddenly you still get 8 million shares, but now you have $800 million worth of shares. And that option has value.